Okay, so today we're talking about slope. So in your composition book, please title this page 3.2 Slope. Slope isn't just a mathy word, fun fact. Slope is actually everywhere in the world that we live in. So just a few examples in case you don't believe me. We have this mountain biker on a small mountain or rock, and this is a slope. It's an upward increase that he is on. We'll talk more about exactly what slope means. On the back, we have a skier skiing down a slope. So it's a downward slope, which we will later define as a negative slope. And then also we have this lovely picture of a yes, it's the right side, of it's either a sunset or a sunrise, you decide. But this is a horizontal slope, so they don't just have to be like that. They could also be horizontal, which later we will find out that this is 0. And then we have an awesome rocket ship, and this is a vertical slope, which I'll just leave that as a mystery for later. So, in case you're wondering, which I know you were, what the mathy definition of slope is, it's this. It's the ratio of the vertical change, which is the rise, to the horizontal change, which we're going to call the run. So I'll give you a second to go ahead and write this down, and then I'll explain a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and start slowly explaining. It's okay if you're still writing. But I briefly touched on this. The vertical change is the rise. So I'm going to refer to the vertical change up and down as the rise. And I'm going to refer to the horizontal change, which is this direction, as the run. And I put this letter M up here. And if you're like, what is that M there for? Well, I will tell you. The mystery is over. The M represents the slope. So just like a bunch of different things in math, we give them a letter. So for example, we learned that the scale factor letter that we use is K. So K was the scale factor. Well, M is just the slope. So M is always going to represent slope. Okay, so make sure you have this definition in your composition book. That will be very important for later. Remember, a ratio could be written a few different ways. A ratio could be written as a fraction. It could be written using a colon, or it could be written using the word 2. I just want to clarify here that the slope, we always are going to write it as a simplified fraction all the time. So even if we have, for example, the slope 4 over 2, we would write that as just 2. M equals 2. Okay, so let's look at this example real quick. I have a water slide. As you can see, I'm a very good artist. So this water slide, the measurement down here, I hope you can see it, it's 40, and up top it's 18. So just a quick example. Slope here, we said vertical change, which is the rise. So which one of these numbers represents the vertical change? Absolutely, it's the 18. So this 18 is the vertical change. So we're calling that the rise. So I'm going to write rise. And then the horizontal change is the run. So the only one we have left here is the 40. And so the horizontal is always left to right. So 40 is the run, the horizontal change. Okay, great. So I said we're writing it as a simplified fraction. So we have the rise goes on top. So M equals rise over run. This is true always. Rise over run. So we have 18 on top, and we've got 40 on the bottom. Could we simplify that any more? 18 over 40. Yes, we can divide by 2. So I'm just going to demonstrate this. So we get 9 over 20. So our slope, that's all you need to write, is 9 over 20. M equals 9 over 20. Okay, next we're going to learn how to find the slope whenever we're given a graph. So in this case, we have the muffins purchased as our x and our y is the total cost, just in case you can't read that. So like we said, M represents slope, and M is the rise over the run. So we said the rise was the vertical change and the run was the horizontal change. So first, we're going to start at the lower point and we're going to count up. So 1, 2. So the rise, we rose 2. And it's a positive 2 because we went up. And then we went over 1. So up 2 over 1. And we went to the right, so that means it's a positive 1. 2 over 1 is our slope. But we said we're going to always write it as a simplified fraction. So how can we simplify 2 over 1? Absolutely, we're going to write just 2. So n equals 2. Before we move on to our next example, I just want to go over how we're going to say this in words. What does this really mean? So I know that the slope is 2, but how does that have to do with muffins purchased and the total cost? So if I look at what my y is the total cost. And my x, which is my run, is my muffins purchased. So if I have $2 over 1 muffin, what does that mean? Exactly, it's a unit rate. So for 1 muffin, we have to pay $2. So that's what the slope is telling us. So as you noticed in graphs, we're always going to use rise over run. Pretty typical, always using rise over run whenever we're given a graph. However, sometimes we're given a table or just a set of ordered pairs. And in that case, it's easier to use this formula for slope. So again, remember M stands for slope. So the slope equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now keep in mind, these 2's and these 1's are not exponents. This just means that these are the same point, these belong to the same ordered pair, and these belong to the same ordered pair. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So, for example, we have this table. I'm going to label this first point x1. And on this side, I'm going to label this first point on the y side, y1. And over here, I'm going to label this x2 and y2. I just picked the first points because that's what made sense to me, but I also could have picked this for my x1 and this for my y1. It doesn't matter as long as the 1's match up and the 2's match up. So these x1 and y1 have to be part of the same ordered pair. Okay? So now all we have to do is plug in these numbers straight into our formula. So y2 is what we're starting with, and so y2 is 9. We always put our little subtraction sign, and then y1 is 12. So we have 9 minus 12. And then we start on the bottom with our x2, which is 3, and our x1, which is 1. So we're subtracting because that's what our formula told us to do. So if we do 9 minus 12, we get negative 3. 3 minus 1, 2. Can that be reduced any more as a fraction? No. 3 does not evenly go into 2. So our slope is negative 3 over 2. It's okay that slope is negative. That is totally allowed. Okay, this is our last and final example. So that means this video is almost over. We're going to try to find the point, the slope of the line that passes through these points. So, like I just said in the previous example, whenever we're given ordered pairs or a table, we're going to use the lovely formula. So, again, that's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Keep in mind that it doesn't matter which 2 points I choose for x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. As long as these two are both 1s and these two are both 2s, or these two are both 1s and these two are both 2s. Okay, so I'm just going to pick x1, y1, x2, y2. So again, starting with my y2, I'm just going to plug in 3 minus y1, which is 2, over negative 4, x2, minus 1. What do I get? 1 over negative 5. That cannot reduce anymore, so that is my slope. 1 over negative 5. Okay, these are your practice problems for tonight. I know I'm standing in the way of them and you cannot see them, but I will move in just a quick second. So you have one with the graph, so you should be using rise over run. And then the second one, you're given 2 points, so you should be using that equation that we just learned. Please take a picture of these and upload them to Edmodo. Thank you and have a great night.